Welcome to the sound of Universal Broadcasting Network.
'Cause you make me feel like I've been locked out of heaven.
A mix of today's hits and hard-to-find favorites, combined with the most entertaining and intriguing talk anywhere. This is your sound. This is the sound of Universal Broadcasting Network at UBNradio.com.
It's the Contagious Optimism Show with inspiring host Sunny Chayes, featuring best-selling author David Mezzapelle. Real people with real stories of perseverance and hope. Join Sunny and guests ranging from Contagious Optimism co-authors to world leaders as they find the silver lining. Better understand why optimism is so empowering. Be recharged, inspired, and perhaps surprised as they tap into the secrets of a joyful life. To celebrate the human spirit. Wednesdays at 2 p.m. Pacific on UBN Radio and Fridays at 3 p.m. Pacific on Gwen Network TV Stories. Contagious Optimism.
Hi guys, this is Sunny Chayes and you are with me here today on Contagious Optimism, and we have a packed house tonight, and so we're going to be chatting about that in a minute, but I want to just remind us that it is the community coming together to make a difference. And so today we're actually going to be talking about community building and project building and movement building. So my first guest that I'm going to bring right on is Becky Woodbridge, and she has quite a little thing for me to tell you about. So first of all, she's a co-author of the book Contagious Optimism, and she's an inspirational speaker, coach, highly active and respected, as well as visual member of many organizations in different areas in Florida, including Leadership Boca Raton, Leadership Delray Beach, Chamber of Commerce, and formerly served on the board of aid to victims of domestic abuse. Whoa. I might want to hear about that a little bit. Delray Beach Film Festival and founder of Holiday Angels Foundation, which I might also want to hear about. Becky is also a member of the National Speakers Association, Florida Speakers Association, American Society of Training and Development, and the International Coach Federation. And she's also the former president and founder of a highly respected real estate company there in Florida. And if that's not enough, she also somehow or another worked in being a flight attendant. And she is, I've never even heard this term, a zillion miler in the aisles. So without further ado, let us bring on co-author extraordinaire, Becky Woodbridge. Hi, Becky.
Hi, Sunny. Thank you. Wow, that is a long. I'm tired just listening to all that.
Well, it's so cool because I think it's really so awesome in our lives at this point to be able to do a lot of different things. It's like it used to be where people just became a teacher or just became a nurse or just became a whatever it was. And now it's like we can mix it up, and you've done all that stuff. And then now you're going to be doing new stuff, I have the feeling. And you have a baby. So now you're a new mom, which brings a whole other level of joy, complexity, and spiritual development to the situation, does it not?
Yes, that's why I look like this, because I am exhausted from a 9-month-old and all that work. So yes, thank you.
Oh my gosh. So the first thing I want to talk about is Contagious Optimism Live. Let's talk about the concept, or even, feeding into that, the idea of why David decided to create Contagious Optimism Live. Because we're promoting that, people. We're actually going to all be there April 4th in Florida. So that's a little bit of why we're doing this show.
Yeah.
So that's what we're up to here.
So, Sunny, when David called me a few years ago and said, I'd love for you to be part of this book. I'd love for you to be a co-author. You must have a story in you about how courageous you were overcoming a failed real estate business. I was in the business for many years, and when the market tanked, my business went with it. So I had to reinvent myself. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that David recognized is that I always had an optimistic approach to my failure. So I got involved with being a co-author in the book, and I did have many stories. I have had lots of failures and lots of try-agains and so forth. So I'm an entrepreneurial mindset. I've always done various different jobs, and I love to venture out and do many things in life. And it doesn't always come with success with that. It comes with a lot of hard work. But the lot of the lessons that come from it, the wisdom, gave me a lot of stories for the book. That's how I became involved in the co-author of the book.
So, speaking about a book, let's just chat about that for a moment. And you used the word failure. And because I'm a radio show host and a media personality, I've always been a student of words as it is, and a chatter. I come from a big family, so I chat a lot. And I notice words a lot. Like right now, it's very, there's a whole movement about taking the word bossy out of our vocabulary because of women's empowerment. So you use the word failure, and I think it's really interesting because, again, at this point, we may even shift that to the word maybe challenge or something. And then because it just shifts the energy. And I love that I wrote down somewhere that you wrote that you have this term, mood matters. And I realized that when I shift my words, it shifts my mood, or it shifts my perspective a little bit.
Yes, well, see, I don't see my failures as a bad thing. I see it as the way that I was able to learn from my mistakes. Wisdom comes from doing, and that sometimes isn't always success. But I have focused on the good that came out of it. So if I hadn't had a failed real estate business, I would not have the story for the book. And
Right.
if I hadn't done that, I would not have led me into doing what I'm doing now, which I'm very passionate about. I'm so crazy in love with what I'm doing as a speaker, as a co-author, as a director of the events. I absolutely love what I'm doing. It had to take that failed business in order for me to do it. So I look at failure as a good thing. I think in life, there's always going to be ups and downs, and however you look at it. So I agree with you that let's try to take that out of the dialogue. But, but as long as you don't dwell on that word of failure and I'm a doom and gloom and I'm, it changed my mood and I can't get off the couch. I didn't allow that business, no longer being in existence. I looked at it as a way to get past it.
Right, and I think what I'm just saying also, as far as just words go, is the power of words. And so that's what specifically I'm talking about. I mean, yes, people can use the word failure or success or anything in many different ways, but I just appreciate the power of the word and of our conversation. And so in the book, reading the different stories that people lay out, they're all different people. I mean, they're just from all walks of lives. Not all of them are actual authors. A lot of them are not. And so it's just so cool about how it just comes to be that people tell their stories and just have that all come together as a community in a book. And then now David has decided, that's why we were even doing this show, to just kick it up a few notches. He's really pushing this idea of a movement. So let's talk about the idea of that, and then we'll be joined by some movement shapers here in the room with us. But let's talk about, sort of your idea about movement creating, movement building.
Yeah, so one of the things I think was a surprise for Contagious Optimism Book Series is how successful it is. And one of the reasons we believe is that there's such a demand for it. There's a demand for listening to something motivational, inspirational, uplifting.
As David says, a craving for it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah. I mean, because I have my own personal experience, and I'm vulnerable, I'm sharing it, and hopefully it will help somebody feel good about something that's happened to them or be inspired by my story. One of the stories in the book, I talk about my family and how I was judging them to the point where they no longer wanted to be around me. And all that was causing me was continued loneliness. And I chose to not do that. And I actually found my family at 40 years old. Because,
beautiful.
Yeah, I have a great family, but it really took a lot of self-transformational learning and developing to learn that what I was doing was pushing them away versus bringing them forward. But the cool part about the stories is everybody has a story to share. And when others get involved with reading the book and can relate to the stories, they kind of want to be a part of something like extraordinary, like the movement. David has started something that I think when he began, he didn't know how big it could become, and it's kind of morphed into something extraordinary. In some ways, he's created this tremendous following, this movement, and I'm happy to say I'm part of that. In creating a movement, it takes a second person to believe in someone's idea and get involved and jump on board, almost to the point where you are you're the leader in designing that. So when David brought me on as the director of Contagious Optimism Live, taking the book and putting it on stage, it was a no-brainer for me. I really believe in the project. I believe in what we're doing. I believe in the positive content. I've always been an optimist, which has always carried me through the trials and tribulations of my past. It's allowed me to overcome a lot of adversity back in my 20s and 30s. And so if I wasn't optimistic, I wouldn't have been able to see it that way. And I love being a part of David's movement and bringing on other people that are also believing in it. And it just continues to grow and grow and grow. And again, it's really exactly what the book title is. It's coming, optimism is becoming contagious.
And having the community, having the people coming together. It's so incredible how going into any environment where people are in joy, when people are having fun, when people are dancing and or singing or both, it's so up-leveling, it's so uplifting in just a very organic, primal way. And when people are, I find actually that when I'm around people who are, I mean, I'm pretty Pollyannish myself, I always have been. And I find when I'm around people who are a little bit, Debbie Downer-ish, it's harder to keep it all up than when I'm around other people who are really seeing the joy and the playfulness in life and the opportunity and the possibility and the just those spaces of life and in any circumstance where there is opportunity as opposed to challenge or nothingness. So that's what I love about the idea of the book as kind of a gathering of a community. And then the Contagious Live is because there will be the audience, they're all of us who are the performers and the volunteers and the people who it's like it's just cool to be optimistic. It's just not cool not to be.
Well, it's easy to be optimistic if you want it to be. I mean, it really is. There's no effort to being optimistic about life. You just have to see it that way. Mm-hmm. And when you mention mood matters, it does matter because optimism is a mood. So depending on the kind of mood that you're in is going to be how optimistic you are. And it's it could be an ongoing project to continue to stay in an optimistic mood, but it's possible and it's a choice, and it's one of those abilities. And as humans, we have the ability to make choice every single day, and we choose whether or not we're going to do certain things that will create a better environment for ourselves. We choose our friends, we choose our careers,
activities, our food, all of those things, and every hour actually. So part of the community aspect of building in our 21st century is social media, the internet. You look at Arab Spring, what ended up happening with that, and some people kind of put it down like the young people are just all on their different tablets and different squares, and I also find it as a really, really positive thing. So I would like you to introduce Tiana for us, and John is standing to get the camera on her, but let's chat about Tiana and bring her on.
Okay, I have to tell you, I love people, and I have a good intuition when I meet somebody, whether they're going to be part of my life for a long time, whether I click right away with them. They're extraordinary people. They're good at what they do. And from the moment I met Tiana, I was wow. It was a wow factor. I honestly can't tell you. She's so good at what she does, but I just liked her as a person. And she really got what we were doing. The first thing she said when I started talking about the live event and the book, she said, "Oh, you've got a movement going." And she was almost like this, like the next person that, besides David and I talking about it, Tiana was the first person that really got it. Like she really understood that it was creating this huge movement, and social media could be a very big part of that. So absolutely, I would love to introduce Tiana. Tiana does our social media and PR for the event, and she's got her own business, 3E Connections, and she's just extraordinary.
So Tiana McDonald, welcome to our show.
Happy to be here.
So Tiana, what I appreciate about our new way of doing this, yes, we should all applaud longer so our push button can go out, you'd be a little softer transition. What I really am so grateful for, I'm so non-techie. I'm like of the age where I'm like sort of non-techie, and my kids tease me about it all the time. It's like, Mom, get out of the 20th century, at least into the 21st century. And, I remember the Jetsons and all of this, where all of these things were possible, but I would watch them as cartoons and that's never going to be. And now it is, and has been for a little while. And so for you, your participation in this, you're just on it. You're sort of immediately wanting to know all the goodies, and you tweet and you Skype and you Facebook post and you just do all this stuff. So chat with me about that.
Well, that was
About
a
your
great
passion.
introduction, so thank you, Becky. And she forgot to mention that I stalked her.
Okay.
So I did stalk her, and she emailed me back, and it was great. So I just love the fact that Becky really hit home when she talked about this movement, and sharing was a key word, relating and being a part of something big. And those three components really hone in on what the point of social media is. Everybody wants to be a part of something. Everybody likes community, and everybody wants to belong. And Contagious Optimism is really the catalyst for that. So we're just taking something, a platform, which is social media, and using that platform to just spread a positive message. And what I love the most is, if you watch the Oscars this year, when everyone stood up when Pharrell was singing the Happy song, these were $1 million actors in $1 million dresses, and they stood up in all their glory, and they were doing the dance because
Rocking
that Happy
out.
song
Yep.
really resonates with so many people. And I think that Contagious Optimism is hitting home on such a great time on the happy. It's more than a happy movement. It's more than looking at the glass half empty and half full. It's community, and the social media aspect of it really explodes, and it allows us to hit home and to really connect with people that we may not be able to connect with.
One thing that I actually like about social media is I think it can be very laser communication. You know, when you do things in the olden days, when I was working in commercials and everything, it was like you sort of had to hit the masses. So you had to hit a lot of levels and sort of superficially. And what I love about social media is you can very specifically say what's up, and you can do it all day long, or 3 or 4 times a day, and you can do it here and you can do it there. And when
Absolutely.
something new happens, you can talk about it right away. Like after this show, I know you're going to be tweeting about it and Facebooking
Absolutely.
about it and everything, and you'll say specifically what happened today and what your experience is, what your emotions are, how you feel about it, and what just actually took place. So that's one of the things that I really love, because it feels sort of true and authentic and real. And I think that's another reason it resonates with people, because it's like they're just getting the juice of stuff, don't you
Right.
think?
I agree. And we use it, we, meaning the majority of people, use it for business. They use it as a journal, as a diary. The fact that there's people out there listening, and listening, I mean liking their pages and engaging with them, is what is so amazing about social media. So you may get up and say, oh, I'm feeling awful today. And everyone say, oh, I hope you feel better. Oh, wishing you well wishes. It's nice to know that someone out there in the cyber world is thinking of you.
Yeah.
And
Or listening to you when you're
listening to you
speaking.
and listening to you when you're speaking. So when it comes to this event, I think that spreading the message that optimism can be contagious, it has to be strategic, because we don't want to be branded as just the happy pill, because it's more than that. It's the daily
Thank you.
reminders.
Thank
It's
you.
the
Yeah.
we have to wake up every day. When your feet hit that floor, you are in control of how happy or unhappy you're going to be. And that's what I think really Contagious Optimism is. It's a movement to make a change and a shift on your thinking, on who you surround yourself with, and social media just brings that to the forefront.
And Tina, don't you think that they want to be involved with something
Absolutely.
amazing? Like, people really do want to engage with us. I mean, our social media page is our Facebook page is doing well. For
Good.
being
Yes.
a new event, it's doing
Really?
well. And what shows me is I know that people are going to see this and they're going to say, well, that was really cool that they did that. So our friends, our connections, our people that really care about what we're doing in this movement is going to see us here. And so I love that we can share that with them right away.
Absolutely.
This is what I find that I think is really, really cool, is that people are in a place in life where there are people we want to support. It's like, if we know a company is giving back to animal rights or children, or then we're going to go and spend our dollar there. In general, there are movements, even though it doesn't seem like it's so much, where even the entertainment business with movies and television, there are things that are coming forward that never would have been 10 years ago.
Absolutely.
So many. And actual production companies who just refuse to do anything but what's positive or has a message. So I feel like it's a perfect time. And I also feel that people do want to support. So in the social media world, it's like people can like that because they do want to support that, and they don't want to support that other thing, let's say. So it gives people the power of one, which I am
Absolutely.
always about. But again, the power of one. they can share, they can read that story or whatever it is that you put on, and then share that with 1,000 people or 4 people, or send it to someone specific that they know is having a hard time about, cancer or a dog dying or whatever, and there's a certain story, and they can share that specific thing. Again, the laser, I think, is great, because also we get it bombarded by a lot right now.
We do.
So to be able to target and laser and focus on what we're speaking about, I think is super important too, don't you think?
Yes, because going viral is a key component of any social media strategy. And I think when we're looking on our Twitter feeds and we're looking on our Facebook tweets, even LinkedIn, whatever mechanism or outlet you're using, you'll see trending topics. You'll see things that are getting tweeted more, or things that people are liking more, or things that people are sharing more, whether it is a dog. I'll never forget when I see that Sarah McLachlan commercial with the dog, and then you hear the Arms of the Angel song in the background, you're like, oh my God, And it's those types of messages that people want to be a part of and share. And I just feel like social media is not going anywhere. It's a black hole, and we have to either embrace it, because it is a way of life. And just like you said, we do have a choice. We have a choice to be happy. We have a choice who we're going to like and who we're going to follow. And I choose to be optimistic. So I think anyone would want to be involved with something big like this.
So I have a story that I read or I saw on my social media page from somebody, and it was a little teeny 2 or 3 minute video, and it was sent from my kids, my son Palmer's girlfriend, and they're not as socially active as I would like, or at least that's my judgment. But they sent me this, and I was really impressed, and it was a little video of a guy who said, I walk in and out of this 7-Eleven for the last couple weeks. I've seen this guy here, and he's homeless, obviously, and I've heard from the neighborhood that he's a cool guy, that he's okay, he's fine, whatever all that means. But that for some reason, this particular gentleman felt really good about this particular homeless person. And so he decided that he was going to give this guy a lottery ticket that was just a lottery ticket. And he arranged with the 7-Eleven clerk to have this ticket be a winning ticket, which it wasn't. It was just some old ticket. And so this gentleman, let's just call him Jim, gave Sam, the homeless guy, the ticket. And he's like, guy, man, want to come in with me and let's just check it out. Let's just see what happens. And he's like, oh, I'm not that lucky. He's like, come on, man, let's just check it out. So he gets the homeless guy, Sam, to come in. And so he gives it to the clerk, and he says, oh my God, you won. And he said, you won $1,000. And this guy, Jim, had given the guy $1,000. And he's peeling them off. So if that is not enough, the homeless guy, Sam, is sharing with Jim. He wants to give him some of the money. He's like, come on, man, I want to give you this money. I want to give you this money. And he's not taking it. This is for you. You're so lucky this just happened. And he's just insisting on sharing it. And then he just bursts into tears. So thank you, wherever that story came from. And it was a 2-minute thing, and I watched the clock. It took me 97 seconds to tell you that story. But the point is that is the power of the community that social media can share with us. And so not only did I get that beautiful story, and not only did I share it, but I also had the most wonderful feeling about the person who sent it to me.
Right.
So that whole train of optimistic behavior, the pay it forward concept, that we can say, guess what, guys? We look outside and we see a lot of negativity, and then we say, and let's see what else is going on.
And that term is called social good. So
yes.
So that is a perfect example of something going viral, but it's socially good for people to get on board and follow, just like this movement is. And again, it's community and being a part. And I guarantee you, if we were to go back and look at that video and see how many times it got watched, it's probably millions of times.
I hope so.
Well, it's instant feedback. And,
Right.
and I never really thought about it until you guys were talking, and I realized that when you put something out in social media, you're getting instant feedback.
Yeah,
that's right.
So you can share. It's a gift to give to someone. Give something to someone and they can view it and then pass it. It's like everyone's giving this gift giving forward thing that you're talking about. Absolutely.
Absolutely, John.
Well, I posted that actual video on my Facebook as well, and it's called Homeless Lottery Winner, and it's what it's called, and you can find it on YouTube.
Oh, great.
And it's by penguinmagic.com. So I just wanted to give a little shout out for that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Penguin Magic.
Does it say how many
Oh, I
likes
can. Yeah, I can bring it up right now
that's just
and
And let us know. And so Becky,
13,395,000.
okay, so
See?
13 million people,
Yeah.
over 13 million
See?
people
Wow.
have, I'm sure, shed tears. I mean, I was like,
Oh,
even
I
now
did.
I'm doing what I can to not cry. I
Yeah.
mean, I was sobbing. It was like, and again, I was sobbing not just for this gentleman, I was also sobbing for his generosity of wanting to give the money to this other guy. Whoa. And then the fact that all these, and it makes me cry too, to think all these millions of people are seeing it, and I know being touched and understanding, young and old. You know, my 24-year-old son, who is not necessarily as conscious as some other people, even though he has me for a mom. It's kind of, I guess, he's finding his way definitely and getting much more that way. The impact of it is just, number one, global. That's the other thing, the international outreach that we now have the ability to do, like when we see an Arab Spring and things that are of political nature. And so, regarding this becoming a movement, we have another beautiful guest we want to bring on. And may I, Becky, hand the baton to you and have you bring on Aaron for us?
It would be my pleasure.
Thank you.
So as I was continuing to build the event with David and bringing on the fabulous social media expert, Tiana McDonald, I came across another star, and that's Erin Branham. And the minute I met Erin, she was special. She does events for a career, and she has her own business, Apartment 2 events. And when I first met her, what I liked about her so much is that she immediately knew what we were doing. She immediately wanted to be a part of it. She knew that David was special and doing what he's doing, and she didn't really care so much about getting the year's contract. She cared more about just getting involved immediately to help us support us in this initial event. What's come from it is a tremendous loyalty to us and what we're doing. And so I know that Aaron's going to continue with us and helping us spread the word around the country so that we can take this show on the road. Our first event is in Jupiter, and our second event is going to be in Los Angeles. And so Aaron's going to be a very big part of that. She's part of our team.
Beautiful. So welcome, Aaron.
Thank you.
Hi.
Thank you.
So you've been listening to all of this, and so just share what you'd like to share with us.
Absolutely. I am very excited to be working with this event, mostly because for me as an event planner, I love seeing that a live event is an embodiment of a brand. And I definitely think that this live event on April 4th and the subsequent events that we're planning will hit that home. And what that means for this in particular is that this is a movement that's starting. So in that room, you have all of the people getting together, feeling excited, getting just on board with the movement in a way that they couldn't unless they were live. And then they have other tools going forward. They have a radio show to listen to. They have social media to engage with. But this is the embodiment and the catalyst for
sort of
that
container also.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's really exciting to see that happening and see that they're strategic about what we're doing here. And it's just thrilling to see a movement starting that's going all over the country. I love watching clients do this with, whatever product or whatever brand they have. So it's thrilling, and I love the team. It's a great team.
Well, we're glad you're with us.
Well, we
We're
need
glad.
her.
Yeah, desperately. And it's always exciting to get involved with something from the ground up, like
Yes.
the foundation of it. So
Yes.
Yes.
And it takes a village.
it does.
It just does, and
Yeah.
it makes it way more fun. Yes.
I mean,
and-
Sunny, we're really are doing it because we believe in the cause. We have our families to feed, but there's we're not making that much money. Hey, David.
right. It's definitely
We
not
need a
about
raise.
the money.
No, it's not about money.
Yeah,
no,
right, it's
absolutely not. Yeah.
One thing that I want to share that I'm just feeling as I'm listening to all of you guys is that there are a lot of movements that go on, and they can be religious, they can be political, they can be nationalistic, they can be of sports. And this particular movement is across the board with all of those things. It's young, it's old, it is not tied to anything, which is what I kind of dig about it actually. And yet it's tied to everything. And so I just want to honor all of us in that and allow people who are listening and seeing us to know that, because that's what it is. It's not tied to anything and yet everything. So don't you agree?
Yes, I think it's interesting to see where everybody's backgrounds are, to see, I know you were mentioning before that we're all mothers in this room, which is wonderful, watching all of these people come together and seeing that we all have a story to share, like Becky said. I know for me, identity gives me optimism. When I get up and my feet hit the floor in the morning, the thing that makes me optimistic is, reminding myself of who I am, how I'm loved, and then going forward through the day, just continuing to remind myself of that. So I think everybody has a different story and where they're coming from and why they're optimistic, but the fact that everybody just wants to get people in that room, wants to get people on Facebook, wants to see people understanding that you're loved and that you can feel optimistic. This is a choice.
Sunny, we were going through the program today, and it was interesting as I was listening to their feedback on the speakers that we have and the performers. It's an art form to put them all together in one room because they're coming from all different disciplines, and they're telling their story. Some of the stories are very inspirational, and some are just motivational, and some are just informational. And you never know what's going to strike the audience. Each person's going to listen differently to every story. Mm-hmm. And so as we was working together as a team this morning, it was fun because we could say, well, that person's motivational and they're a strong speaker, and then this next person is a musician who's going to beef up that motivational talk. And so it was, we are putting on a show so that when the audience member leaves that room, they feel a sense of belonging and a sense of connection. Then they can continue with the social media, with Tiana's, what Tiana's doing, and and continue to. One of the cool parts about what we're doing is that we're giving you a platform ongoing. Like, we want you to come to the event. We want you to see this 20 speakers and performers from all over the country. Most of them are in the first book, and they all have this tremendous story. But what is really neat from this event is Smile TV, one of our partners, is going to be filming the talks and putting it online on YouTube and also on Smile TV so that people can watch it from all over the world. We're actually going to be tapping in to so many people around the world. They can watch the event over with the speakers over and over and over again. So anytime they need a uplifting, motivational story, they have a resource to go to. One particular resource.
What's very powerful about this, and that's awesome that that's happening, and it's again the power of what we have available to us now. And let's just use our tools. Why not? And one thing that I want to point out is that things will happen. Things will happen all over the world. Things will happen in that room. Things are happening right now, and we will never know. And David will never know. And the authors who wrote that story, or sang that book, sang that song or say that story live, will touch people. And it just, again, the ripple effect, again, the contagious aspect. Just like when a bird goes through a field and gets little seeds on them and goes someplace else, and then those seeds get planted somewhere completely different. We will never know. And it's not for us to know. And that's the beauty of it too, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes. Sunny, on the airplane, forgive me, but I was talking to Tiana, and we were talking about how did I get into what I'm doing? And it was because somebody planted a seed for me to do what I'm doing. They said was one simple sentence. They said, "You'd be a great speaker." And that was it. And voila, it struck a chord with me. It really hit me because it took that one seed to be planted for me to believe in myself that I could be a speaker.
Beautiful.
And I did, and I love it. I absolutely found my passion.
Well, I can kind of tell you know how to chat, girl. You're a good chatter.
Or in other ways, it was a reminder of what you were meant to do.
Right.
Good point. Nice, John.
Yeah, somehow it came about. But it is about planting that seed, and that's, and wherever you get that, you, like you said, this person probably doesn't know that they touched my life in such a way that I have gone off into my passion and my career choice that I really resonates with me, and I feel like I found my calling, and it was that one person that did that. So, when you listen to other people's stories, you just never know where that message is going to strike. As we've been working with the speakers, they said, well, what should I talk about? And I said, just tell your story, because your message is in the story. Whatever you say in the story, don't try to plant the message in somebody. Just speak your story, because it might strike somebody in the front row or somebody online that in another country, and another person may not. They may not necessarily affect them.
The truth about that is also It may be now. It may be in 3 years. It's also that. There's no time or place. Everything is just whenever it's meant to be. And again, just the truth is, I mean, that's one thing that I do as much as I can with this show. And I find when people come on and they say, well, what should we talk about and what's going to happen? I say, let's just tell the truth, whatever that is in the moment. And that's what I do as much as I possibly can, whatever is true for me, however I feel, whatever I want to draw out from you at that moment. And I think that's what resonates with people. And when people get that mic that day, who knows what they're going to say? I mean, hopefully they know they have a certain amount of time, and that's my job to get them on and off,
Right.
Along with Sherry. But that's also the power of just being true to oneself and authentic, and that's what works, don't you think? So I want to have you young people come on a little bit. Okay, so
I love that.
young people, young
Let's
people.
not reveal how old I really am.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I like it. Well, Erin, so I want to just have you tell us, just mention a little bit about what you've sort of felt so far, just being part of the team and what's up so far. Just anything authentic that you would like. What is your truth right now?
Absolutely. Becky was talking about, finding her calling. And I love that as working on this team, we are I'm allowed to use my gifts. And that's part of what I love in my career, is that I'm doing something that I love to do, that I feel passionate about, helping my clients make these live events really special, that they're strategic and that they're important to what they're doing. And so I love working with Becky because she just embraces that and wants to say, yes, please, use your gifts, use your talents. I'm going to use my talents. And we as a team are very complementary to each other, which is helpful. And David says the same kinds of things. He's all about the team. He loves having a team behind him. So that is wonderful. It's an incredible environment to work within. And I think that if I didn't feel that, it would be hard to feel like this event is really an embodiment of what they're saying in the book, but it is. They are
Great
really
point.
for it. So that's really exciting, just to be known in that way.
So how cool that and I feel that way too. When I was together with everybody, we were seeing our great friend Harold Payne play music at a club last night, and he's the music director. So shout out to Harold, who was on the show a few weeks ago, and just all being together and just realizing that everybody has brilliance and in a big way, and to honor all of that, and there's so much room in the air. There's so much air to breathe as far as nobody is stepping on anybody's toes. It's all about everybody just bringing their best game forward, however that can show up at any time, with extra ideas or fun sort of things that just might end up happening spontaneously or whatever. And that is what I appreciate about an environment like this, because it isn't always that way. But that's where I would like to play, so that's why I'm really grateful to be playing.
Well, I have to say, Sunny, I mean, a shout out to you. So thank you. Not only is your show extraordinary, we're very grateful to be part of it, but you're our MC for the event. And I have to tell you, we are so excited. You and Sherry Hurst, you're going to share the stage as our MC. And I couldn't think of a better host, honestly. It's important for us. It really isn't. We are really, truly, as a group, doing it for the love of it. And that it's huge. And we know the money's going to come one day, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. We really believe in putting this group together. So like last night was magical for me to see us all together. There's just a tremendous group, very strong personalities, a lot of women. So David and Harold, they have their
Watch out. A lot of diversity.
Yeah. And the service of it. We're using the word love, which I appreciate, because love encompasses everything for me, and I'm sure for all of us in this room. And just really honestly for the service, like we're talking about how this person will be touched or that person, or and again, letting go of any outcome expectation and just knowing that all is well in the world and how it should be. And again, the idea of optimism, I think, is so great and so imperative, and such a exhale, because there's a lot of energy, pressure that gets held in negative thought and negative activity and negative being. And Becky, for just a quick little minute, I know you're sort of an expert on that, but I wanted to talk a little bit, just for fun, about the sort of science of optimism. And as far as the contagious aspect of it, again, the stronger each seed is of optimism, the more it can grow other places, or hold on to that bird and land somewhere else and really turn into a tree. And then, but the actual aspect of optimism as, a bit of a science or a bit of a physiological aspect. I know you're kind of a expert on that.
Well, thank you.
And I will give you 2 minutes. So go.
Oh gosh, no pressure. Well, ontologically speaking, ontology is the study of being. And it's your moods and your emotions, your body and your language all come together and produce your ontology. It's how you see the world. And so how you see that glass of water is the mood that you're in. And optimism is a mood. So somebody that sees the glass half empty is not feeling very optimistic in life. They don't see possibilities. They live as a victim. They absolutely feel resigned in life to anything new. So they're not going to see the glass half full. They're not going to see things optimistically. It's going to affect their personal life. It's going to affect their business. It definitely is going to affect the bottom line for a company that if their employees are living in that mood of pessimism, when they launch a new product, for example, they're not going to be very happy to have that new product, and they're not going to feel that loyalty and that willing to jump in and really get out there and do more for their business.
Inspiration.
Oh, absolutely. So it is very much important for people to adjust their moods if they want to live in a mood of optimism. You have to kind of peel back the layers of that person and find out why they're holding on to some sort of a resentment that's holding them back from being optimistic. So there's more to it. There's more, peeling back the layers of the onion and really getting to the root of it. And it takes somebody that wants to make that change. They want to. And there are people that do, and they just don't know how.
Exactly. Thank you. And I had Marcia Wieder on a few weeks ago. She was sort of our first kickoff for Contagious Optimism. And for those who don't know who she is, she's sort of the dream queen. She's a stunning author, written 14 books and all of that. So when she was on the show, she said something to me which I found fascinating, which is about the brain. And I've been doing a lot of reading right now also from Jean Houston, the phenomenal anthropologist and world social activist and conflict resolution master. And I hope she's working with Russia right now. I have an email into her, and I'm praying to God literally that she is, because I know she's one of the people who can make a difference. Talking about the brain, talking about the development of the brain, talking about the fact that we used to think, well, it sort of stopped at 5 years, and then it was sort of 18, and then it was 25, and now we're finding, or Jean Houston is, and many people are actually studying the brain, that that as long as we continue choosing to learn, do new things, push ourselves, that our brain will stay alive and active, that we can literally have a young brain until we leave this planet. And I love hearing that. I totally believe it. I was told that I have the brain of a 25-year-old, and my kids said, "Well, that explains a lot." But because you have the skull, and then you have the brain that fits right in it, like an orange with an orange peel. And then as we get older and older, and we just have the idea. But this is the thing. We have the idea, oh, we're done. We're 40 and we can't be the singer or the dancer or get that man or start that business or write that book or whatever. We're done. And Marcia was explaining about an enzyme that gets released from the brain that keeps us active, that keeps us alive. When we're little kids, babies, that's what gets kids, growing, because it's also a survival mechanism. They need to learn a lot to save themselves, like we were in the wild. Mm-hmm. So at a certain point, we tell ourselves we're done, or we don't tell ourselves we're done. We tell ourselves we're just getting started. And so that I love hearing and knowing. I believe it very strongly, that is really the truth, and that we can continue. And whatever darkness or whatever went on with a bad marriage or just the most dire of circumstances, that we can shift that, and we can press the reset button, and we can learn a new skill or do a new thing or have a new life. And let's just all do it, and we can just keep being vital until we're not. So
yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
Okay, so let's do it. We're doing it. What am I talking about? We are doing it. But the idea that we can, we can write a new song, we can do a new dance, we can create a new movement, and this is also kind of an ancient way of living, and it's also a very significant survival aspect of a life. Like Tom Shadyac points out in the movie I Am, that human beings do not have the ability on our own to really survive. You know, we don't have the muscles that a gorilla has, or the power of a shark, or you know, we don't have those. We can't fly like a bird, all those things. But what we do have is the ability to have compassion and community and cooperation. And so that is what we have in our DNA. And so with this movement of contagious optimism, that connects us so powerfully so that we can continue living and having a vital life and keeping our brain young. So what do you young people say? Okay, Tiana,
I love
Tiana,
that.
jump in.
I love that. Well, you know, I just love the fact that we are, in fact, planting a seed. And I'm a constant reminder, just by working on this event, is just, you know, continue to stay in the moment. It sounds so cliche, but it's so true. And it goes back to the cliche, you know, the universe is going to bring what you want it to bring, and stay in the moment. And I always think, when I have a bad experience, whether it's at a store or someone's cut me off, you complain about it to 10 different people until it's like out of your system, right? So it happened at 8 a.m., but you're still talking about it at 5 p.m. But when something good happens, you tell 2 people.
Right.
Because you're like, oh, the lady let me in front of her at the supermarket. But you only told 2 people. So back to your point, Sunny, it's so much easier to be negative. And it's so easy to complain and moan about things, but it really takes the shift and to do the work, and you need to take action to be optimistic. And I think this event and all of the engagement on social media is the action, or the shot, like Becky said, to give you the power to move forward. And we're giving it to you on a silver platter. We're handing it to you. So if you can't put your feet on the floor and go to the computer and get a ticket, you're crazy. You're insane.
Well, you know, it's creating that habit, though, to make it
That's
easier
so
to be
true.
optimistic.
Yes.
Yes.
You know, so
It is a habit.
If you build it in your life, then it is easy to share the good out of the bad, and you would just refuse to talk about the bad.
Right. And it's starting that, because I must say, I'm a very positive person, but I have had the extra jolt just with working with these 2 women and the rest of the team. We've created a bond now. I think even last night, it was just so invigorating to have all of us together last night and really see how this stretched from Florida all the way to Los Angeles, and how an event now is going to come full circle and be in Los Angeles, and that we have all been a part of this shift and this movement, and we're the living proof, and we really are truly authentic people, because if we weren't, we would not be able to get along. And the egos would get in the way. And I'm sure everyone knows how egos get in the way.
And you know what it feels like to me, I can say personally, is it feels like a declaration.
Yes.
It feels like a declaration to myself.
Right.
Okay, so this is what goes on. If something comes in that feels negative or sad, or, you know, this sort of thing. I mean, it's not to say that one shouldn't feel one's emotions, and
Absolutely.
if something actually happens, obviously there's a process and everything. And yet to have that declaration to myself, that commitment to myself, that that I'm going to take that breath, take that moment, take that second, and shift that. You know, that's why I named my my other show "Singing in the Rain," because it's like taking something that can be dark and dreary and black and wet and stop you from doing things, and shift it into something that's just super fun, and I'm dancing and I'm singing and I'm laughing in the rain and I'm splashing around and I'm making it like rock. And in my opening song, I also interweave the song by Louis Armstrong. He didn't actually write it, but he made it famous, Make Someone Happy. And so it's sort of a counterpoint in that song that I know is there. So I'm now telling you guys. And I played that at the beginning of the hour today specifically because make someone happy and you will be happy too.
Absolutely.
You know, Sunny, there's a game that my sister started a few years ago, and it's changed our family very much. And it's a simple game. And you basically go around the room and you tell that person what you love about them. And I have to admit, the first day that my sister wanted us to play this game, I had a really hard time. Because I had to pick her. And I had to say what I loved about her. And the first thing I wanted to say was, yeah, but what I don't like is blah, 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 blah. But what happened was when you started to look for the good in somebody, it became easier and easier and easier. And as we went around the table, and then year after year, it became extraordinary, a way of giving somebody a gift. You know?
So this is actually a tribal practice in Uganda and other places in Africa where an adolescent or some young person mainly is acting up in the tribe. And so what they do is, instead of reprimanding the child or banishing them to some other area and excluding them, they include them in such a beautiful way, which is putting them in the middle of a circle, and the villagers gather around and all go around and say something about love to that person, because what they get is the reason the person's acting out is because they're not loved up enough. That's to use a common, kind of modern term. So what your family's doing is actually an ancient African practice. So there you go.
Interesting.
John, how much time do we have?
We actually are out of time,
Oh,
but
oh
I'm
my
enjoying this so much. I'm keeping it going.
Okay, thank you so much. So we have to actually end. And so what I wanted to do, and I don't know if I have time, but Aaron, can Aaron tell us a 30-second story? And while Aaron, I'm asking you, totally putting you on the spot, I want to just remind everyone that I am so graciously joined by Becky Woodbridge, Tiana McDonald, Aaron Branham, and we also have David Mezzapelle listening in, I'm sure, and I am Sunny Chayes. You are listening to Contagious Optimism. We are going to be contagiously optimistic live in Florida, Jupiter, Florida, on April 4th. And we want you guys to join us. And, of course, always listen to our shows and just check us out in all the social media things, which are the obvious ones, right, Tiana?
Yes, everything is Contagious Optimism. So if you Google it, you will find the Twitter page and the Facebook page.
Cool. And Aaron, I want you to end our show today with just a quick story that you want to mention.
Absolutely. So
Cool.
speaking about contagious optimism, I had the privilege of a few years ago of working on a banquet that we invited the homeless community of Fort Lauderdale to. So we invited them to come and have this banquet that was a nice evening, and we presented ballet for them on the stage, actually. And they watched this, and I have never seen people so just engaged with what they were watching as that, because to take them from a situation that was so hard every day, and then one man said to me at the end of the evening, "Oh my goodness, that was like watching poetry in motion tonight."
Oh, that is so beautiful. John, is there any way you can end with Singing in the Rain?
Yeah. I'll go
Okay,
ahead and
cool.
do that.
So we are going to go out actually to a bit of Singing in the Rain and make someone happy so you can be happy too. And remember, we all have the power of one. So remember today to just go do something, any little thing that you can think of, and see how it shifts you. And whatever does the other person, that's not your job. Let it go. As Sister Teresa Avila of France says, it's not your job to know. Just don't worry about it. Just do it already. So let's do it. So until next time, bye for now. This is Sunny. Bye.